Welcome back, guys, to the Beyond Condition podcast, the favorite saying of mine, of course, for every podcast. But today we have a webinar, and my trusty co host, Sarah, joins us today. Welcome, my G.
What's going on?
Ah, it's such a vibe, these calls, because, of course, actually being able to talk. Like, I remember the Muscle Mentor days, I'm sure you'll remember. And I joined a call once, and there was like loads of people, and I was just sitting there like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah, I remember. I remember. And there's like thousands of people on this one call, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
many
yeah.
people.
Can I ask a question? I love it. And welcome to everyone joining. I feel like we've probably got a few more coming on, but today we're going to talk about purpose. And I wanted to sort of start this one with a bit from the recent ebook that I've released because there's a reason, right, that I put the first page as your why. And although it's a show day guide, I was like, what is your why? Why are you going to compete? Why are you going to step on stage? And it's definitely underrated, I feel, at times, because we can get into this realm. We can do this in personal life as well, but we can get into things and then be like, I'm not really feeling this. I don't know why, or why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? So in the ebook, part of the finding your why. So I put throughout your bodybuilding journey, revisiting your why can aid your purpose. So perfect for our topic today. Always keep in mind you're allowed to change your why and your direction. This journey is for you. Whether you face challenges, conflict, or a lack of self-belief, a useful tip is to have a vision board, or you can write in a journal why you are doing this. So I love to recommend to clients and people that I talk to that you put this in the first couple of pages of your journal. Then you can obviously look back at that. Be as specific as possible. This is your consistent reminder of what this means to you. And trust me, sometimes we all need a reminder. So, in that part, right, in that sentiment in itself, giving yourself permission to actually sometimes reroute. We forget that as well because we can start with a why, but life throws so much at us. And sometimes it's like, I need to be honest with myself. I need to understand, am I doing this for the right reasons, whether it's bodybuilding or whatever it is? And, personally, for me, a good example outside of bodybuilding is the podcast. So, starting that, I spent like 6 months, I go on my walks and I'd be thinking, can I be this person? Can I be the person that I wanted? When I listened to podcasts and I thought, I'm an outsider here, I know fuck all, and I want to know, but these people are talking in different languages to me. Like, who am I? And I was like, can I do it? Can I do it? Launched the podcast. Now, did I think it would get to this point where thousands of you tune in? No, I didn't. Do I get imposter syndrome sometimes? Yes, I do. Do I think, shit, am I good enough to be this person? And the driver is because I've got a purpose. My purpose is to be the person that I was looking for. My purpose is all of you. So in those days, doing a podcast on my hospital bed, doing a podcast when shit is thrown at me, it's because of you guys. I don't get paid for this, right? I don't, this is a passion project, but I'm so driven because I have my why solidified in my heart, in my soul. Will that change one day? I don't think so, but something could happen, right? But what would I do about that? I'd go back to have I, is my passion still there? Am I able to still have this drive to think of the topics, to reach out to guests, to do all of these things? And it's important because, as bodybuilding is an example, we don't really get paid for this, right? We do all of this because we want to be a bodybuilder. And Sarah's a really fucking good example, and it's just epic. The example of her changing and rerouting and not prepping right now because of reasons we speak about on Monday's episode. But, I said to Sarah, what you're doing is a fucking good example in this space because how many people do you know that prep because they're hiding trauma, because they feel they have to because of social media, because they don't want to push up in off season, right? The list goes on. Sarah's gone, do you know what? Something's off here. Something is off here. I'm going to reroute and I'm going to be true to myself. And something you mentioned on the pod, Sarah, was social media's not ever been your driver to do this, but you found yourself when you were contemplating this decision to pull away from prep,
Mm.
wait, actually, social media is part of this, like why I'm still doing this. And that would be a really good place to start because social media, no matter what you say, it does impact a lot of us for sure. I'm sure you'd agree.
Yeah, yeah, and I think like because a lot of us on this podcast or a lot of us in general within the fitness industry, like it's a huge part of our business. It's how we run our businesses, right? Without social media, a lot of us wouldn't have a business because it's just, on my Instagram as a professional athlete and as someone who has her own business, I am the face of the business. So the only way I can get more business is by being on social media. And I think, as Sarah said there, like I never used to be kind of like very, and I'm not really a huge fan of it now, but I always used to be when I used to compete like someone who was a Dorian Yates, I would just turn up. I wouldn't put really much on social media because I didn't want to be, I didn't do it for social media. I didn't do it for external validation. I simply love bodybuilding. And this year I tried to push out towards being a little bit more relevant on social media and with contracts with sponsors and things like that. You kind of have to be a little bit more on top of social media and stuff like that. And I started to do it and I thought, like, am I really falling in love with this prep this time round? There's so many things that I need to kind of reevaluate in my life, but actually, I'll just push those to the side because social media, I don't want to seem weak. I don't want to seem like I'm any less of a bodybuilder by pulling prep. So I'll just keep moving through. And actually, at the end of the day, like I sat there and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what am I doing this for? Like, am I actually really very present in this prep? Not really. And for me to not be very present within a prep scenario and not really enjoy the process, I knew that was a red flag. And I think social media was a major part of that because I tried something different and I tried something that wasn't who I was. And I think it's just a huge take home to don't try and change just for others. Don't try and change because you think you've got to be relevant. Just be yourself. And I think that's such a massive part of this. So, and I think again, it played a massive part of me being actually like, you know what, fuck what others think. I'm just going to make that statement. And if people don't like agree with it, then it's on them. But actually, out the back of that, like saying that I wasn't going to prep, I got a lot of positive response because people are like, you know what, fuck it, like do what you need to do. And I'm a firm believer, and I think Sarah is as well, that things happen for a reason. And this year wasn't the year, and that's that. Like, and that's okay. Like, I think a lot of people, and myself included, think, you know what, actually, if I pull, everyone's going to think I'm a failure. When actually, proof's in the pudding. We all know how to prep, or we all know how to do X, Y, and Z. And just because someone says, oh, because I had a couple of people that say they were like, oh, that I'm quite surprised actually. And I was like, well, why? Like we all have things going on just because even a couple of people said, oh, I thought you had your life together. You think just because you see that on social media doesn't actually mean that my life's together. There's just certain elements that I don't put on social media because I don't want to put it on there. You hear about relationships breaking down because people are, you see it on social media and you see that actually behind closed doors everything is breaking down. And I think a lot of things happened in my life at back end of last year where actually I didn't fully embrace what was going on. I got engaged, I bought a house, and I think when I started prep, I thought everything would just kind of fall into place, and it never actually did. And I think I just used prep as something to ignore actually what was going on, and it never, I never settled into that routine, and that's okay. Like that, stepping back and being like, actually, you know what? I need help. I need to go back to therapy. I need to work out what's going on mentally before I can actually fully invest into my bodybuilding. Because at the end of the day, we can work through things, but if we're not there 100% mentally, then we're not going to be there 100% physically. Because I'm a firm believer that if you believe in yourself and you mentally are there, your body will follow. So you can achieve. I think we're all, I think we can all achieve greatness. It's just us believing that we can do it. So, if you're ever someone that's on the fence about prep, you need to be there 100%. And I simply wasn't this year. And making that statement of being like, look, you know what? I'm not going to do it this year. I'll just step on stage when I'm ready. And it all intertwines into that social media pressure, the pressure of actually, I'm a pro. Should I be competing every year? And then you think the IFBB, and it's all of these things. But actually, at the end of the day, you're the athlete. You're the person that's stepping on stage, no one else. And it should be you that you're thinking of first and foremost, no one else.
Yeah, for sure. And also, when you are prepping, depending on the level of condition and what you're doing and whether you're assisted, whether you're natural, there's, different things to consider. But
Mm.
what I certainly had a reflection of is every time I take myself to stage, I'm actually, let's face it, it's detrimental to your health, right? This is not a joke.
Mm.
Stepping on stage, again, it's going to depend on the condition you're bringing and what you're doing. However, it's not a normal thing to do physiologically. We're all females, right? This is not, it's not like you're not born to do this. We're born to have children, carry body fat, etc. So then when you actually relate this back to if you're not in the mindset to do it and you're sending yourself to that place, not only are you harming yourself mentally, you are, of course, having implications off the back of this physiologically. Does that come and catch you in the arse? Potentially. I'm not saying it definitely does. Took a few years for me to get some backlash with the health, but sometimes we do have to be, really honest with ourselves as to what we're doing here because it sounds boring sometimes. I think, is this me beating a drum that's not meant to be beaten this much? But it's true, right? Like no sleep, stim use, over exercising, essentially going against your physiological makeup to do this and step on stage. And if you're not going to have that strong why and that drive to do it, I mean, it seems obvious, but really, it's like this is where we have to be honest with ourselves. Now, on top of this, with social media, and again, I said this in my Stage Would Always Be Here podcast. If you've got other people around you, so whether that's your partner, your friends, your coach, and they're telling you, no, no, we've got to pursue the prep. And I said it, fuck them. Because you are the one doing this and you're the one stepping on stage. This ties in exactly what Sarah said. Physiologically, and I've had this, you get kickbacks. Stepping on stage not in condition does not feel nice because you're hell bent on doing it because of the wrong reasons. But how do we get ourselves out of this? And it's important to explore this on the call as well. It's like when you have all of these things, environment, all of these things are considered as environment, people, etc. It's like, what do we do? And Sarah, you're an advocate of this because we spoke when you were making this decision.
Mm.
It's like, who can you reach out to that one gives a shit, two will give you an honest opinion, and three will show up because you get the yes men, you get the people going, oh yeah, or maybe you should just keep going, like because they don't know what to say, right? And I'm not saying it's easy to find honest people, but Sarah, how was that sort of when you were like, who should I actually speak to about this? Because it's quite hard sometimes, isn't it? You don't want the yes men, right?
Yeah, like, and I've said that to plenty of people. Like, I would rather be in a room with 10 people telling me what's wrong than 10 people telling me what's right, because I know that I can work off of what's wrong than being there and be like, oh, so I'm perfect when no one's perfect in the grand scheme of things. But when I want to confide in someone, it's someone that I know will understand and someone that will tell me what's going on. I mean, I'm very blessed to have a fiance that who's been in sports, high level sports, that will tell me to either man the fuck up or make the decision that she thinks is right. And, I only spoke to maybe a handful of people about even moving coaches because being with Tom for 10 years, it was a very difficult decision to make. And I remember having the conversation with you, Sarah, about actually, you know what, I think I do need a fresh set of eyes. And having the conversation with Tom, he agreed. And it was kind of like, these decisions that we make are not easy, but I think confiding in people that understand the process and have seen the process. Like again, coming back around to my fiance Elite, like she's been with me. We've been together 10 years. We've been through COVID. We've been through deaths in the family. We've been through, a lot of things together. And she's seen me prep right from being an amateur to a pro. So she understands the mental process that it takes and the demands of the sport that, sometimes you do need to step back. And she said, you're not in this. I think you should pull it. But she would equally say, you're being a pussy, man the fuck up and get on with it as well. And I think that's really important. But confiding in people that understand the environment in which, you're in and the demands of the sport are really important. And, I obviously confided in you and a couple of others and even at the end, Tom, and that's why when we went our separate ways. So I think it's confiding in people that understand the process, understand what bodybuilding is asking of you. Because at the end of the day, bodybuilding is such a weird fucking sport. Like we literally see our competitors naked before actually seeing them in clothes. Like how fucking weird. I was thinking that the other day. I was like, what a weird fucking sport. Like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I don't think there's any other sport that does that. Like, Yeah, and for someone to understand why we do what we do, like there is a very set amount of people that understand. So, the people that understand, keep them close and always have that relationship that you can discuss with them for sure.
Sure, yeah. Two things spring to mind. I met Keza in a tanning booth. She was like, I
Yes.
recognise that voice, and we're butt naked, and we're like, oh yeah. And she was like, you've got me through some of my cleaning jobs. And Carly obviously tanned me for the shoot, and she was like, who'd have thought this? I've gone from listening to the podcast to you being in front of me butt naked, and I'm tanning you, and I'm like,
There's a other competitor called Lenka, and I've met every time we've met each other, we've been naked, and you're just like, oh Lenka, yeah, every time.
It is that weird and wonderful. I covered this in the ebook as well. I was like, this is bodybuilding because you have those examples of people that are like, I don't want to get naked, and you're like, well, you're about to step on stage with a bikini on, and that in itself, I do truly believe that doing a prep and then stepping on stage and being exposed to a whole audience, a whole panel of judges, I mean, for me, it was like, fuck me, I can take on the world if I can do that. Like, and I didn't even, I didn't place for a number of seasons, and I was like, God, no, being able to do that in itself can start to tie into your why. And of course, as we climb the ranks, we become pros, we win shows, etc. That that element of sparkle can go a little bit because it is a bit more serious to a certain degree. I still find, and I know you're going to say the same, Sarah, it's like, yeah, get in your zone, do your fucking thing. However, there is elements of, when you're in the pose down on stage, when you're backstage, when you're pumping up, where you're like, this is weird, but it's fucking so cool.
Yeah,
Like that there's this like a child in you that's like, this is really cool. And, that in itself as well could be a contributor to if you're moving through a season or you step on stage, the prep's gone really well, but you get to show day, and of course, there's anxieties, nerves, etc. But in itself, if you're just dreading the day, you fucking hate it, again, it's like, is the why enough to do a prep and that's your why? Or is it, can we celebrate the stage in our own cathartic way? Because again, you're putting yourself through this health wise, etc. relationships. Surely that's got to be that almost, cherry on top to actually step on stage in itself and
yeah.
learn, the nerves and everything that we face. I'm sure you've got some anecdotes, Sarah, with that.
I say this to everyone that's like a first timer or someone looking on stage, like getting on stage will be the best thing you ever do. Like the hardships that prep brings about, like prep has taught me so much about how far I can physically push myself as well as mentally. I've done things that I never ever believed I could do. Like, and getting on stage for the 5 minutes, that 5, 10 minutes or whatever, it's so worth it. And I say, like, embrace the hard days. And we've spoken about this on podcast time because it's the hard days that really, like, you got to get uncomfortable. You got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And it's those realms which you really develop as a person. And, prep is, and someone said to me the other day, like, do you think bodybuilding has given you more or taken away from you? And I actually thought, you know what, it's actually given me so much more than you ever actually think. Because you step back and actually think, yeah, it's given me a really good business. It's opened up circles of friendships that I'd never ever thought I would have. I'm lucky to be in conjunction with multiple companies that are amazing companies to be with. I've made amazing friends. You think actually you only really hear about people being like, oh, prep's ruined this relationship or prep's done this or my world is being turned upside down when actually bodybuilding gives you a stage to learn about confidence, to learn about how physically and how mentally you can push yourself, and it gives you a chance to develop as a person and make new friends. And you never know, those friends may turn to relationships, and one day you may be married to that person that you met backstage or whatever. Like, I think there's so many dark things that people see about bodybuilding, the drugs and stuff like that, when actually bodybuilding is a beautiful place to be because it teaches you so much about how far you can go. And yeah, I just think again, like I said, prep will teach you so much, and always think about that if you are prepping now or whatever, or you're going to prep, like embrace those hard days because you'll go each day and be like, actually, you know what, I did that, and then you'll step on stage and be like, I left no stone unturned, and I did that. Like no one else, it was me, and that is a huge thing that not a lot of people can say.
Yeah, because there is days, right, where it is wild. You're literally like fuck me, like, how am I even going to get through this day? And you get through the day, you get in bed and you go, I got through a day.
Yeah.
And that sense of accomplishment. And again, not everyone's going to understand this. However, there's levels to this, right? Like who you're communicating with, who are outside of bodybuilding. It's always as well, what I try and get across when you are telling people, and this is something you can think about off the back of the call. If someone said to you, "Why do you bodybuild?" Can you answer them? Can you tell them straight away, this is why I bodybuild? I could fucking sit there for hours and say why I bodybuild. Much like Sarah, it's given me so much more than it's taken, as it were. And it's that question in itself. Now, if you come back to someone and you're moaning and you're going, "Oh, fucking hell, I hate this," or that's filling your narrative, or you say this to yourself, it's not going to come across that this is an enjoyable thing to do. Are they going to want to support that, or are they going to want to say, do you think you should be doing this? It doesn't sound very good. Whereas, and I'm not saying you need to go, it's fucking butterflies and rainbows.
Mm.
However, there needs to be a bit of something if you're taking yourself to these places on these dark days. If you are able to fill your own narrative with this, so when you're on that fucking Stairmaster and you're like, shit, me, this is so hard, there's the angel and the devil, I often describe it as, and I'm like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. And it's all these little examples, filling the narrative with this positive reinforcement. And then when people ask you about it, I'm like, yeah, I fucking love it. It's this, and this. You don't have to understand it. But then people feed into that, and it's like, she seems to really like this. This seems like this is the right decision for her. Again, that starts to feel, and not everyone will reciprocate this. I'm not delusional. I understand that. However, it's then that environment that pays off as to your narrative, other people's perception of how you view this sport. Then the confiding in the right people if there is the hardships, right? So if there is the days where you're like, I really need to vent here, like I need to just be able to talk about this.
Mm.
If it's someone that understands, if I said sorry and I'm in a prep, mate, I'm fucked. Like I don't know if I can get through this day. She wouldn't just be like, oh well, maybe why don't you stop? It would be like, right, okay, so what's going on? Da, da, da.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't then feel like defeat. It doesn't feel like you're being weak. I've got very good friends that are high level bodybuilders and they confide in me because it's about talking about it. And you know what I mean, Sarah, when you can sort of have that, you can just talk to someone about it. Sometimes
Yeah.
vocalizing it actually not makes it easier because it's not easy, but
Mm.
it changes it a little bit, if you know what I mean, rather than these negative spirals that we can find
Yeah.
ourselves in.
For sure. And I think like a lot of people like I think a lot of people don't understand that even like whether you're a pro or whether like you're an amateur, like understanding prep gets easier, but prep doesn't ever get easy. Like I remember speaking to Hollingshead and being like, is prep easy? And he was like, well, no, of course it's not. Like and he's been in the game for however bloody long he's been in it. But like we all still struggle. We all still have those hard days. So whether you're a pro speaking to an amateur speaking to a pro, we're all going through the same thing. So just because someone is a pro doesn't make them any better or, well, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't make the struggle any easier. We just are able to deal with it a little bit more. So, but even if you're an experienced amateur, you can still understand and go through or understand what the prep is going to be like. I mean, as a first timer, it's a little bit new, but regardless, confiding in people who are an amateur, pro, people that have been in the game for a long time, like we've all still gone through the same thing. It's just at a different level, I suppose.
Yeah, and also, we came across this on one of the webinars actually, Keza, when you said you listened to a pod and you were like, Sarah, you said you've never cheated on your diet, and I have, and it was really nice that you opened up about that. And again, even stuff like that, that wouldn't make me go, well, you're not a real bodybuilder. That would make me go, okay, so tell me about that. Like, I'm really interested in that because you've actually got the mindset to continue prepping, do your off seasons, and do everything you're doing. And then you spoke about the ADHD. So again, it's like if you have a bit of a trip up, whatever that is, the right people will actually get you behind you for that. And maybe the next prep it's a little bit less or whatever. So again, it's not about, being a fucking perfect bodybuilder because there's no such thing, right? We all have things that go on in preps. And I think again that's important with the calls, right? Because it's like I don't feel like everything. ideally, right, we're doing everything to the letter, etc. However, things come up, and it's having that space as well when you feel like maybe, there's something you could actually delve into with someone you trust as well, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally. And that's why having a coach who you can be honest with. So I say, Amanda, I've cheated. She says, right, this you do this, this, and this, it's fine. It's not going to be any problems. Just move on from it, blah, blah, blah. And being able to just be honest. And I think that's the main thing. If you're going to hide it and not be honest about it, it's gonna then get worse and worse, isn't it? So having somebody who's on your level as well. That's why like ADHD, having an ADHD coach. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like
Yeah.
works because she's done probably what I do.
Yeah.
So then she's got the answers. So that makes it much easier. Plus, keeping it inside doesn't help, does it? You're not. Do you know what I mean? You need to tell
Yeah,
someone and speak about it.
yeah, for sure.
Claire, you get coached by your brother, don't you?
Me, yeah,
Yeah.
Tyrus coaches me, yeah.
How do you guys find like with your ADHD and that? How do you find? I
He
mean,
knows me better. He knows me better than I know myself. So if he knows that I'm leading into kind of that territory where food might become an issue, then we'll change how like my off plans are structured. But the longer you go into it for, the easier it is. It's just post. It's post show more than anything else. That's the difficult bit. It's that transitional period of knowing that you can, but also knowing that you can't as such. And it's just sometimes finding that balance. And like last time was terrible. This time we're doing okay. But it's we're doing okay. We're holding on. But it's just, yeah, it's that I think the more you get your head around the understanding that it's your ADHD that's your driver to it, and it's not actually like binge eating habits. Because me and Sarah had this conversation was it the weekend just gone, where I had an epiphany. I was like, I'm not actually a binge eater. I suffer with dopamine or cravings. And when I say cravings, I mean like it can be a square of chocolate and then it's gone.
mm,
So if it's gone from being a massive amount of something to just being like, meh, and I speak about it now rather than trying to bottle it in. Because when you bottle it, that doesn't work for me. I find that's worse.
mm,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Where it's like
Yeah.
I've had examples where I've worked with clients where it's like they wouldn't tell me till check-in, and it'd be like a week
Mm.
past, and then it would be okay. So next time, the offer's there to phone me before you have the food off plan or whatever, or tell me on that day if you can over a message, whatever feels better. So then it will be like a couple of days after rather than a week. Then over time, it's like on the day just after they've had something. Okay, I've done this, and that's that integrated approach as well to also being able to be honest with yourself but trusting in your coach, like we've all pretty much explored there, that there's no judgment here, right? We are humans, we have desires, we don't just switch off and don't like food because we're a robot now. It doesn't work like that.
Mm,
And this also delves into restrictions. It's that there's binging, there's restricting, there's a combination of the two, and all of those things are very common in this realm. And it might not even be like you say, Carly, like a binge per se where you're getting to the point of making yourself sick. Could definitely be overeating. You could definitely have more food than past full, as it were, but you're not leading to making yourself sick. The thing is, with the food pathology side of things, I feel like there's so many versions that actually it can, I would say, for yourself, and it's something I've explored within my own food behaviors, can be quite confusing. So you're sort of looking for a label, as it were, like, so what, am I just cheating on my diet? Is there more to this? Am I restricting? Am I binge restricting? What? And then again, back to social media, as we spoke about at the start, you've got all these, I mean, I'd like to just say wankers, but you got all these people that are spouting off a load of shit about, and again, this ties into when you see people in their stories, whatever, expressing what they've done, etc., and validating things. It's very confusing. So then, does that make you go, I'm going to go in even more? I'm not going to tell anyone. Absolutely, it has the possibility. And also, when we're searching for, is my why still there? Is my purpose still there if I've had some additional food or I don't want to have the food or however it is? It's like, what do I do about this? And I really like how you said, Keza, finding the coach that you can go, look, this has happened. What do we do? The coach goes, this is what we do, right? It's like a rather than, and I will do this with clients, if there has been some eating off plan, I don't want you restricting now because of this. We continue the day. We continue the day, and then we work out how to combat that. This is not like, oh shit, you've got to starve yourself for the rest of the day. That's going to build food pathologies, right? But that does, and Sarah, you might have similar examples with it takes a bit more from a coaching program rather than, just a plan. Here you go, crack on and get the
Yeah.
fun with it. Of course.
Like at the end of the day, like as a coach, our job is to adapt and
Yeah.
overcome. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if someone said, "Oh, I can't do this," or "I can't," then we change. Like, a coach that's very one way, very straightforward is a bad coach because we need to adapt to the client that we work with, the needs and wants of an athlete. It's our job to determine the plan that the path that we want that athlete to go. Whether that be, whether they be a bodybuilder or a powerlifter or whatever, we adapt and we adapt around that athlete because again, if you can't adapt as a coach, then you're a bad coach. And I say to every one of my ladies that I work with, and obviously the handful of lads that I do as well, like because again, like if you have male clients, they typically will bottle it up more than the women, and
Mm.
trying to get it out of guys as well. So if any of you have like male clients, any coaches, try and like there's a way that you can speak to guys. I mean, I'm not great with it, I'm working on it myself, but like trying to sort of walk through the process with a male client and trying to get them to open up is as important as trying to get your females to open up as well, but it may just take a little bit more of a bit of a nudge to get the guys to talk. But like, yeah, like with everyone that I work with, I say like, don't bottle it in. Like, talk to me. Like, even if it's fucking, late in the evening or whatever, send me a message and I'll obviously respond because I know what it's like to have that like loneliness and that not really knowing who to confide in at certain points. Because prior to Tom, I've had coaches that were quite abusive and not being able to speak to a coach because I was very young and naive and it led to really poor things. Like I know what it's like to not have that. So if you have a coach that you are happy and trust and you can confide in, then speak to them and say to them, look, I did this. What do you want me to do? Because we're not gonna sit and judge like Sarah said. Because who the fuck? Why would we judge as a coach? Like that's just a poor coach. We're not. No one is perfect, like we keep saying. But like we can make things easier if people are open and honest. So always be open and honest with your coach because we will adapt and we'll adapt and overcome things together. Because at the end of the day, and any one of my clients will be able to say that, it's not me and the client, it's us. Like we are a team. Like, and some people may argue that, okay, you're too pally with your clients and that, but I firmly believe that the relationship I have with my clients is what gets them to where they want to be because I know what it's like to not have that relationship prior to obviously being with Tom and that. So find that relationship with a coach that you enjoy being with, and things will really progress because you'll be able to be open and honest with them. That's really, really important.
Yeah, it's a mutual respect as well, right? Because it's like, yes, I often say this, like, if I could coach for free, I would, but obviously we all have to pay bills. And it's our job. However, it's like, yes, you're paying for a service and we're leading the ship, right? We should ideally know more than you and be able to guide that ship and we have the knowledge, experience and we offer that support and guide the ship. However, there's a mutual respect there. You're not under the coach, or I mean, I don't feel you are. I feel like you're both pouring into this, and yes, as a coach, we're guiding the ship, as I say. However, there's no better feeling when you step on that stage, and I've always had this. You're there and you're like, this is my coach's name on the stage. Like, this is us. This is us on the stage. And it's just that there are those darker days where you're like, I'm doing this for me, but something within you as well. It's like, the coach is there as well and gives you the spirit. And it's like, I'm doing my coach proud here as well. And the thing is, right, no matter how it comes across to other people, there's no better feeling than making yourself proud, but also making other people's proud. Like,
Mhm.
it feels good. Like we can all be like, oh no, I just do it for me. But it is good. Like even Samson, when he did a speech that I went to, him making his wife proud, right? Like you've got fucking Samson, fucking humongous. And he was like, and elements of his friends, and he was talking with Sass and making them proud as well. And it's like we all have elements of that, but sometimes I guess we can go a little bit tunnel vision and think that that doesn't play an impact as well. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Sarah.
I think when you have someone that's been with you the entire way through prep, like with again my other half, like the shit that I put her through during preps and stuff, and then I get on the stage for me, but also for her because I it allows me to give her a life that I believe she should have. So at the end of the day, like for me, this isn't about me. It's about being able to give her what she deserves. Because my missus hasn't had the easiest of life. So now, I mean, when we got together, she said, I never in a million years thought I would go to this. I didn't even go on holiday. And I thought, well, too fucking right, pack your bags and you'll come see me prance around on stage. Like being able to take her around the world and yeah, and do things like that. Like that's why I do what I do to give her a life that she deserves. And also just because I fucking love bodybuilding. Like, you know what I mean? And I think we would still be doing bodybuilding even if social media wasn't a thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just to make other people proud. And I always used to say that to Tom. I always say, look, I don't care what happens, but as long as I make you proud, like that's my job done. I think that's yeah, I think that's huge. And don't I think a lot of people don't want to, like you said, they just say, "Oh, do this for me, do this for me." But we really like, come on, like there are so many people in your life that you should be making proud. And I'm a people pleaser. I'll always put myself at the back of the queue before like want to be with other people and see other people do well and stuff. And yeah, I think making other people proud is a really important driving force to get you to where you want to be.
Yeah, it also builds, I do find it builds respect as well, being able to do these things as a coach in the space as well, and even like, doing this diet phase here and I'm not going to stage because of my little baby quad hasn't quite developed since the surgery.
Just pose one leg. Just put
Well,
like a black sheet over the other one. You'd be like, oh, look at this one.
yeah, I mean, I could probably hide it, but for me, like, I couldn't step on stage knowing that it's not,
Yeah.
I'd just be like, it's not my, for me, I'd have to improve everywhere. But it's like,
Hand behind you, and you could just wrap your leg around my hip, and then you could just hold my leg forward. So it just look like my leg is on your body.
it's just this like I feel certainly for me it's like even just getting back in the diet game for a bit again it sort of with clients that are in prep it builds a bit of camaraderie as well and we're sharing those anecdotal stories again with pushing up Sarah's absolutely an advocate of putting on some serious fucking mass in an off season but again it's another reason I remember when I first reached out to you Matt was like have you seen this fucking small but mighty? It's sick. And I was like, let me have a look. And I was like, bloody hell, this is fucking epic. But you love body building. Guess what? Off season's building your body, guys. And it is a difficult thing to accept over time for a lot of us. It's not the easiest thing to embrace. You know my story, I'm sure. And again, it's like when we're able to do these, going through the different phases, learning, building the respect from our clients, our peers, etc it just helps you to be able to almost wear that pride and that I'm
Mm.
doing these things and it then also we spoke about stepping on stage being a where you look in the audience and you go there's Mudgy but even just the day-to-day execution, right? Like actually sharing, whether you're dieting, whether you're in off season, whatever it is, it's really nice to take people on that journey. And I think, Sarah, you'll agree, it is something that you're known for and pushing up in the off season and fucking sharing your check-in shots at the height of off season, being like, this is how we're doing, guys, it's really fucking cool.
It just gives people like because obviously we were like sharing our stage photos and stuff, but like you need to also show every part of the process because what I put on stage is what is built in the off season. Like, so why are people not showing this part? Like they should
Mm.
be showing every phase. Yeah, it's not great. Like obviously we just got out of fucking bed. I look like a turtle. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so it's not gonna be the greatest face in the morning. But like, it's important people should see that because it's also such a fundamental part of getting on stage and being better than last time. It comes back round to that purpose, and obviously spoke about it in the seminar. But that purpose is our internal compass. It helps us to set goals and make decisions and stay motivated, especially during challenges and uncertain times. And I know a lot of challenges are faced when it comes to off season because a lot of people do suffer with, what, actually, I don't want to get to a point where I'm a bit big. I don't want to, I want to say a little bit shredded. Like but when we give ourselves purpose and understanding of why we're doing something, and what are the steps that we're going to take to get to where we want to be, like that internal compass is so important. And if you want to be better than you were before, then you have to go through phases. You have to you have to be comfortable with uncomfortable, like I said earlier. Like, and obviously don't get too fat, but like it's understanding the process and having a coach and having an understanding why you're doing something, and the purpose of each phase. And again, it's just having that purpose and being able to be like, right, okay, so I need to bring up my legs. Okay, so what are we going to change training wise that's going to do just that? Okay, so what are we going to do nutrition wise, whether that be higher days on heavier days, or whatever it may be. Like, just understanding the process is a really, really important, and then that will give you more understanding of what your purpose is going into each phase. That's really, really important. Yeah.
I feel like,
Yeah, and having like, like a coach that will hold your hand, especially for myself, because
Yeah.
I know I saw you, Sarah, and I'm kind of in the peak of my bulk.
do you look
You
sick?
know,
Wham.
Mhm.
a bit whammy, but Romana was so good. She really did hold my hand. She was like, "It's okay, keep pushing." And I'd reached my target. She was like, "It's okay, we'll push you a little bit more." So it's kind of and
Yeah.
I've never been this big. So for me, it's mind blowing because I realize I can get this big now, and I can handle a proper off season because it's hard getting this big
Yeah.
and nothing fits and you're uncomfortable and your sleep starts to deteriorate. So, and
Yeah.
explaining to people that this is part of the process. They've never seen you quite this big before. So
I mean, trying to get your bra off when you're big. Oh my
I
Lord.
just don't wear them.
I
Yeah.
don't
Don't
either.
wear them.
I'm like
I,
Just
stuck here.
don't wear
Like,
them.
I
miss,
think
like, take off.
I
You know
think
what?
also as well, it's not just about the getting better each time you get on stage. It's also about getting it better each reverse as well. Because when, like, this is my third or fourth reverse now, and I've always just filthy bulked really until this year. So like this check-in last Friday, Amanda was like, we've probably 70% of last year was just dirty bulking, but now you're in a better place. We hold and condition 24 weeks post show. Not getting, but I'm up to 3,300 calories, like, which I've never done before, do you know, but I'm still looking good. And it's just kind of like, this has been my first reverse, but learning it isn't just on stage, it's off stage and going through every process and making each year better than
Yeah.
before, even in that way as well. It's a whole learning curve, isn't it? All the way
Yeah.
through,
And showing that,
really.
as a female, you need to if you want to grow, you need to put some size on. You
Mm.
can't
Yeah.
walk around the gym with a six pack all the time. And,
Mm.
you need to be a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah. Also, hormones as well is a big thing we found this year. We've recognised that probably for the last 2 years now, when I've found it a lot harder in prep because I'm 46 this year, HRT just started. That's making a difference in the cravings, in all, do you know what I mean? All of these things that you think is for other reasons, it's also hormones play a massive factor as we get older and stepping on stage as well. So I think learning that about your body or having a coach that can guide you in that way also is a good thing to have. Because I always wonder, a question for, obviously you've both had, Sarah and Sarah have both had male coaches. How does that work with them understanding the female cravings, etc.?
Good question.
I think it's just kind of, I didn't really know any different. And I think I confide better in men to some extent than I do women,
Mm.
just because I think I don't know any different. But I can understand that it would be like, so for example, when I spoke to, there are elements of things that I didn't speak to Tom about because I just didn't feel that he wanted to know about it. Whereas if I would confide in Vicky, so Tiny Titan, I had her do her a lot of my like my bloods and things like that, and
Oh,
like things like, and I don't really care about talking about this, but my sex, like my libido is basically non-existent. It has been non-existent for years now, and I find it easier to confide in things like that with Vicky than I would with Tom, but I would still speak to Tom about like my period and stuff. But there are certain elements that I probably wouldn't have spoken to him about because I just didn't really fancy talking to him about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good thing. I just wondered because obviously it is easier knowing that someone knows how you feel in certain
mm,
areas, exactly like you said about your libido and stuff like that, because that is a big thing as
Mhm.
females as well. Do you know, we're not all
Yeah.
horny men with testosterone. Do you know what I mean?
Then,
Sneaking off for showers and whatnot.
I think,
then
like you
obviously,
say,
like,
Sarah, it is definitely all we've known. I
And
also
then
think,
like me and Tom we're like best mates. So imagine speaking to your like best male friend being like, I'm not horny. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't, but I could probably speak to Callum about it because me and Callum are friends, but we're not close. So
Yeah.
there's that professional line, whereas me and Tom are very, very close. So it's kind of like speaking to your best mate about, you know?
yeah, yeah. I feel like so my
Times.
coach was like nearly 8 years, and it's all I ever knew. So when I applied, it was like obviously many, many years ago. So there wasn't as many coaches as there are now, of course. And I applied and you got given a coach basically. So I got given him. He was the one that worked with a lot of bikini athletes. And so that's all I knew. But there was certainly, times where I was like, he wasn't he was quite I don't know what the word is. He was just quite straight laced, so it was quite hard. He never really said like you're doing really well and stuff, and not that you need that, but it did lead to me feeling like I needed to prove myself. Probably led to the neuroticism a bit. However, like you're talking about sex life, I know it would be, I'd be like, I don't really know. And then I didn't really have any friends around that I'd speak to about it. Now it's very different. Of course, we've all got each other, etc. But I guess you then start to bottle certain things up potentially, or then you find people later down the line. But it's certainly something that I wouldn't talk to him about certain things about. So I know what you mean. But then I had Tom as a coach, and he's got a very feminine energy. So like we would talk about, and then that ended up we became more friends than coach, and particularly in the reverse out. And it was like this is probably not the right direction for me for him to be my coach. And again, like you said at the start with Tom, you have to be very honest with yourself, don't you? And it's like a breakup, right? Like it's not something that we both did when we came away from the Toms, ironically.
It's
You
funny
go,
that it's
you
Tom.
sort of go, you go through these. Yeah, you're like, right, okay, so I'm gonna do it. I'll do it tomorrow. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll do it next week. It's quite difficult because you almost feel like, and if anyone's in a similar scenario now, we're talking about it. It's like you don't really know what to do there because you feel a sense of loyalty or whatever it may be. It's quite a difficult scenario, isn't it? It does take a bit of time to, process, like if you were going for a breakup.
I think
Do
though,
you feel that?
go ahead.
No, I just wanted to ask, like, do you feel it's better than if you try to keep a completely professional relationship with your coach instead of, like, I understand you have to speak, especially when you are close to a stage, look, to communicate with them every single day and that, but maybe if you keep it more professional, they can make the right decisions for you as well. Because sometimes when the emotions get involved,
Yeah.
I don't know, some things they might be complicated.
There are, yeah, potentially there are elements to that. My first coach actually used to say to me, Sarah, we're not friendly now. We're 2 weeks out. Just do this.
Game
And
time.
he framed it like that. And it was, I mean, it was quite savage, especially the first one. I was like, hey, fucking shit. Like, right, okay, I'll do it then. Yes, sir. And I was very much like that. However, it's so person dependent. I've got clients, if I was, more along those lines, I don't know if they get to stage because they've had shit coaching experiences before.
Mhm. Yeah.
They don't want me to treat them like that. They want us to be that team you've described, Sarah, and that makes the journey and makes the stage experience, and they're more into like what they get from prep, and then the stage is what it is. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it's very individual dependent, I think. Like for example, myself, I don't want a friendship from a coach. Like I want someone to be like, man the fuck up, get on with it. Here's your meal plan. You're gonna do it whether you like it or not, kind of thing. Whereas like, I've done both sides and the friendship was great, but I need that professional line. I need that you're going to do it kind of thing. Because I want to get to places where I need that attitude. But with certain individuals being like, right, okay, so we're 2 weeks out, how are you feeling? Do you want to go for a coffee? Like, I think that's really, really important for some individuals, especially unless someone says, look, mate, I just want to check in, I want to get on with it. And then that's that. Some people like that, and some people like a little bit more support. Like, it does completely depend on the individual, I feel. But a lot of the time, I think people do like the, okay, so the little bit more of a calmer approach. Like, we need to do this now because we're 2 weeks out, but you're going to be okay doing it because I'll be there.
And you want to know, I think what's going to really, what came to my mind there when you're describing it, Sarah, if you know the coach can take you where you want to be, you can have that more, I'm not saying relax as in like, yeah, chill out, whatever. But
Yeah.
it's like if you trust and believe in that coach, and this is going to obviously, depend on what you're looking for from a coach, whether it's all the transformations, whether it's 5,000 pro cards or whatever it is, or if it's that you see something in a coach, you just see something there and your belief in them, you can absolutely have a bit more fun along the way. You can have a bit of banter, but it can absolutely still be professional. I think it's probably, for me, and I don't know if you agree here, Sarah, you have an intuition. You sort of you mold yourself to, all of my clients are coached slightly differently because my job is to understand and serve them, period, right? Like you said.
And from the same time, you need to know that the client is not going to see you as a friend, be like, oh, I'm going to see today. And
Yeah,
because we have that friendship, they will be fine.
yeah.
So, and then I'm going to do it again next week and then again next week. So,
Yeah, like if if you stop checking in or whatever, and you're, oh, it's all
yeah.
right. Or again, like when we were talking about if you're, if you're eating off plan and you're restricting things like that, that's the type of thing we need to know. But sometimes people are going to need more time to build the trust there. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Like I've spent, 8, 10 months building full trust with clients where it's like actually now it's like we're fully together here because they've had shit coaching experiences before, or they've had shit in their personal life, or they find it hard to trust. And
Mhm.
I'm there for it. I'm there for it. And I know you will be, Sarah, but it sometimes takes time and showing up and knowing your shit, right? Like if one of my clients says to me, this PD or whatever it is, menstrual cycle, whatever question it is, they're getting a 10-15 minute voice note back because I want them to know, I want them to learn, right? It's not just like, well, just fucking get on with it, will you? So again, it's like, how do we build the trust, respect as a coach for that client to believe in us? And like you say, want to check in, want to show up, want to do the things that we're asking them to do, but also have that bit of banter along the way, right? The fucking right back to when we were saying this is some weird ass choice.
Mhm.
But it's fucking cool. So share that as well and try and feed off each other. But it can take time. I'm sure you'll agree, Sarah.
Absolutely, it can take time, but like at the end of the day, perhaps hard enough. Unless like I said, you like that kind of very strict approach from a coach. Like, have a bit of fun with your coach, like backstage. Like when we were backstage, Joanna, we had a really good time. Like
Yeah.
vibe, like and that's really important. Like, like you say all the time, Sarah, like your vibe brings.
One of my favorite, the favorite one I ever had. The last
Yeah.
one, it was, yeah.
There we go. Like and like when you're backstage, I think, and I've seen some people that backstage that are very like right game time, whereas actually like we're all there for a reason. Let's just have a bit of fun. Let's like vibe. Like, and I think that's really important. Like I said, unless you're someone that like is like me, who kind of likes okay, straight talking, no no bullshit, or you kind of like a little bit more of that friendship, then work with it, work with that, and work with what you want as an individual, and your coach should be giving you that. No, that's a given for sure.
I'm feeding you rice cakes backstage because I don't want to ruin my lipstick.
But that's another part of the whole process. I say to people who I speak to, who's maybe first times, go and make memories backstage. Speak to people because this is where you find your greatest friends in this sport. Like backstage, who you keep in touch with, take the pictures, take because them few moments are on stage are just the shortest time. You're backstage for hours. You're tanning. You're doing all those things, and it's just a great time to make those memories and meet friends and like just it's just amazing, isn't it, how many people you do actually meet.
Yeah, and if you come across the shitheads, the people that are nasty or whatever. Again, I mentioned this in the ebook, right? I've come across people that are really not nice, and there's certain things that go on backstage. You might not have come across this, and that's fucking brilliant. I wouldn't want to wish this on anyone, but I've certainly had, I should have come first. Well, I've come first, so what do you want me to do about it? It's the judge's decision. I've had this shit, and it doesn't feel very nice. And if you do pick up bad vibes, own it and remove yourself. So there's two ends to this, right? And it's sometimes hard when you're a first timer. I remember UK BFF, my first show. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so excited!" Nobody spoke to me. They looked at me like,
Who's that freak?
yeah, who's this little bloody pipsqueak with no muscle?" And I'm like, "Oh," and so excited for bodybuilding, so excited to be part of this weird and wonderful sport. And that was it. It was difficult. Like I was walking around thinking, I don't think this is my place. But I didn't give up on that. And things have changed now, right? Federations are different. Obviously, you've got the different federations in itself. So Two Bros is generally speaking a bit more serious, as it were. And then you've got the other federations. But again, you can tailor that to who you compete with. I have this conversation with clients. I'm like, these are the options. This is the timeline. Again, it's going to be if it's their first time, if it's, multiple seasons, whatever, what's going to suit their physique, their ambitions, what they've done before. But I'll also be honest about my own experiences with different federations, the costs, all of these things. But it's something we learn. And so if you do have a very good experience, like you're saying, Keza, and it's like, oh, I want to do that again. If you have a bad experience, you can learn from it like anything in life, right? It's like that didn't serve me. Okay, what am I gonna do next time? Rather than, let it derail you. Or if you have had all good experiences, it's like this is fucking sick. Like this is so good. Sarah, on your list, Sarah made a list for this call.
Well,
Is there anything we haven't touched on that you think would be good for us to go over with the gang?
no, to be fair, we went through quite a lot of it actually. Yeah, I think we nailed pretty much all of it, to be honest. Like, because I slotted a few things in there anyway, so I think we pretty much nailed the list.
Team vibes. Now, guys, it's your chance. Would you like to ask a question at all? This is where you've got Sarah at your disposal. I remember Wendy on the last webinar. I was like, has anyone got any questions? And they were like, Wendy was like, I can answer questions. Because she's
Wendy
got
is
this,
such
like
a G.
status of the queen. I was like, just DM her after if you want to.
Nah, Wendy's a G.
Yeah, she is. Fucking
She
legend.
holds a lot of secrets in her hair, see?
She oh wow, just a phenomenal person. I could yeah. As I said at the seminar, you three. I'm like, how the fuck are these my best friends? But I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
Anyone have any questions?
I
Obviously,
have a question.
yeah.
So, Sarah, when we started, you talked about like social media and how these affected you during prep. Obviously, this is a thing that it will always be there. So, do you think when you go to your next prep, will you try to, because it's part of your job as well, as you said, for business and as a pro, do you think you will just have to navigate that differently next time or completely ignore the social media from your, like excluded from your prep? How do you think you're going to navigate that?
I think I'll probably just I won't really release any show dates or anything like that. I will just go into the prep completely black out. Like I think, and that's what I used to do because now with the uprising of pages like Beyond Stage and Female Bodybuilding Channel, you have so many people that are in your DMs. What show you can do? What you do this, and then when you kind of do things like pull out a prep, oh, it's all over social media again, and you think fucking hell, like. So I think
Mhm.
I go into prep next time, I just won't let anyone know. And obviously, like I said earlier, I do have clauses in my contracts with people like JP where I have to post a certain amount every week and stuff like that. But with JP, it's very open that, as long as something is in there with JP on it, it's not like I have to show my physique. So I will probably just navigate in the sense that I won't let anyone know what I'm doing. You'll just see it in my face. I'll get more and more skeletal, and you'll be like, right, she's probably getting for a show. And then I'll just turn up because I think that's what I've always done. That's what I've always wanted to do. And this year I tried to navigate it differently, and it just wasn't me. And I tried to be something that I wasn't, and it all came kind of clashing down because equally as well, and this is something I put on my story actually a while ago, is I know when things are circulating because that's when all the haters start popping up. And I think that
Ah,
as well, no matter how much we say it doesn't bother you, and like Sarah said in the beginning, it does bother you. Like it does get to you quite like after a while. And I think when you're constantly being pummeled with, negative thoughts, well, not thoughts, but comments and stuff, it can get quite kind of, oh, there's another one, like I'll block and delete him. So I think next year, yeah, it will just be a matter of I'll just turn up when I want to turn up, and then that relieves no pressure. I'll just see where I land and then just go from there.
mm,
Mm.
I love that.
Mm.
I love that. It's also as well, like we said and touched on at the start, physiologically, the least amount of stress we can facilitate because we're already stressing our bodies out by doing a prep in itself. Even the peak and stuff we do is very wild. So being able to have less stresses from things like social media and pressure around the day, all of these things, it is. And yeah, I don't want to say, 100%, but generally speaking, in my experience, it's going to facilitate a better physique response. And
Oh,
what do you
absolutely.
want? Right, right. Is it you stepping on stage and having the best physique outcome possible, or being able to speak to people on social media?
That's
Mm.
it, exactly. And I think, and I always say this to people, like a stress physique will not respond. And that is just that is that you have to bring that stress away. And my look when I was 9 weeks out was arguably probably the worst I've ever looked at 9 weeks out. But the minute I pulled prep, 2 weeks later, I'm leaner, I'm bigger, and I look better because I've had that weight lifted off my shoulders. So I think like social media is great, and like we said, it's very good for our businesses. But having the external stresses of, oh, I've got to post this today because people want it, and it's just, I say to a lot of people like, as amateurs, as pros, whatever, it's slightly different as a pro, I suppose. But like, regardless, I think, yes, you may feel like you have to post on social media, but realistically, like, and I know this sounds horrible, but no one really cares. Like, if I didn't post for the next 4 weeks, the only people that would probably be like, oh, this is a bit weird. Like, where's Sara Bradley? She's not flexing, so I can't wank today. Like, do you know what I mean? That's probably the only people that. Because yeah, because realistically, the people that I want to know I'm okay know I'm okay. So like, and I said this to a client who obviously she's not my client anymore, ages and ages ago, and she was getting so like like anxious about the fact that she was pressure on her shoulders, and I was like, stop posting then, because you're that
Mm.
person that's putting that pressure on your shoulder. Just enjoy the journey and just go at your pace instead of being like, got to update my followers. Like you
Yeah,
don't have to update fucking anyone. It's completely down to what you want to do.
Does
yeah.
it
You
like does
you
it
don't
like
imagine.
worry you? Does it like worry you, or do you reckon? Do you know, like say the competition and they're looking at you and then they see where you are? Do you think it helps the competition as well? Like, does that
Like pressurizes them to.
exactly on your mind? Because they'd be like, oh, freaking hell, I'm a little bit behind her. Like, so
I,
it's helping them out for them to get better because they've seen what condition you're in, like in off season or in a prep. You know
good.
what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. So, Sarah, if you had someone that you were going to potentially compete at a show against, and they were looking at you like, shit, she's nails, I need to step it up, and potentially they could then work harder because you
Mm.
look better, and actually, maybe their physique outcome would be better. I never thought of it like that, but that's a good idea. So you're basically helping out the competition. Shit, stop posting, guys. Go time.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know then, but there's been times where people post on social media and you think they're going to look amazing on stage, and they turn up and you're like, well, that's disappointing.
Mhm.
So social media can like
Oh
put so
yeah.
much pressure and make you think that everyone's going to be like, I'm not. It's just that sometimes like we have this pressure of social media where sometimes people are average, sometimes they're not, sometimes they're going to turn up being phenomenal, but it doesn't matter. You will look at other people, but no one's going to turn up like you or like them because it is a competition, but it is yourself. You can grind and grind and grind, but it doesn't mean you're going to turn up as peeled as someone else or vice versa. But
And
I don't know. It can be used as a tool or
yeah,
an
Then at
enemy,
the same
can't it?
time, how harder he can work, like from what aspect? Because if your coach tells you you have to do A, B, C, and you do A, B, C, like if you do D, then it's like not what your coach asking you. So from what aspect you mean, like working out harder?
Yeah, so I think as well, there is a sort of extension to this where you could easily see someone that you're going to compete against and think, I fucking look well better here, and take your foot off the gas.
Yeah.
Again, I think in summary for this sort of topic, there's lighting, there's a
mm,
peak Remember, there's a peak, guys. Also, I've turned up at shows and there's been people that have posted that they're going to be there as well as me in the early days, and they've had a family, tragedy, and they haven't turned up, and then they're not there. So I've wound myself up for 6 months. So the concept of this as a whole, it's like, as you were saying there, Carly and Ioana, you can only do you. You literally can. And yes, potentially you could facilitate trying to work harder if you saw that you were a bit behind or whatever. But again, someone could be photoshopping, using different lighting. Their peak could
Right.
absolute, they could actually be
Yeah.
grinding, reversing into the show. Their peak could go wrong. There's so much in this realm. I mean, I know.
Some people come in like 2 weeks out, and
Yeah.
some people come in 8 weeks out, and then you've got to balance it. Like I was so lean 10 weeks out this year that it was trying to like balance that and not absolutely like just shrink. Do you know what I mean? Shrink down. So it's yeah, it's just it's a strange one,
It's a
but
it's a mind warp.
yeah, it
It's
is.
so
You just don't know.
it's so that like you do you, and Anna, you're a good advocate of this. You will literally follow the plan to the letter. Yeah,
Oh yeah, I'm OCD. I can't,
it's the
I can't
Bible.
go.
And again, I'm not saying that nothing comes up and what have you, but you are an advocate of, you truly put all your cards into to Sarah, and it's like I'm going to do what my coach says. Um, yeah. So again, your mindset is very, very much in that space, which is brilliant because you just go, tell me what to do and I do it.
Yeah, but then it comes down to the trust as well, because if I didn't have trust on Sarah and I was like, yes, he told me to do that, but is it
Mm.
like then I wouldn't follow as like blindfolded I'm following now.
Yeah.
So we had to build that in first place, which we
Uh,
did very, very, very fast.
yeah, again, it can be fast, can't it? Sometimes you can just. This is why I say, if you have a consult or what have you, I'm like, do you catch the vibe? Do you catch the vibe? If you catch that vibe, it's like it's like, oh, I'm there, I'm there. This is us. We're taking on the whole. Fuck everyone else. Taking on taking on the world. Does anyone else
I've
have
had
any?
consults where they've just been like, you have to really struggle the conversation, or I've had consults where we're best friends straight away, like because you just have that vibe together, and when you have that vibe, you're like, yeah, we're gonna get on.
For
Yeah.
sure. Like when I have my
Actually, when I had before I started with Sarah, I had a couple of other consultations before on the phone. And once I hung up with Sarah, I turned and said to Jesse, my husband, like, this is it. Like, I'm going to start like straight away. It's like from all the others I had, I just got the vibe and we clicked. So I knew from the beginning.
Yeah, it does. You can get that. Like I even noticed that my first coach he was selected for me because it was his realm. I was like, I don't care how much it is. I'll fucking remortgage the house. Take the money, take it all. This is my new utility bill. Like obviously in a prep, you're starving yourself, so that's handy. But I was like, I will scrimp and save. I will do whatever I can. You're the coach for me, and I don't know. You sometimes just get this heavy, like, yeah, this is it. This is the person that is taking me to my dreams, and we're doing this together. And there is no feeling quite like it. It's like this unstoppable force, for sure. Does anyone else have any questions?
No, just another good
Yeah,
chat again.
yeah. It's such a. It goes so quick as well.
I
Me and
know it
Tommy
flies,
are
and you're like,
so
oh my God, it's time. It's time to go. I like to stay on all night. Let's do a 4 hour. Why don't we do a sponsored
excited.
24 hour and see
Play the
if we can
pattern.
make conversation for like 24 hours?
Should we do
I love it. Oh, I did actually say that I would.
it when we're all in prep?
Oh yeah, yeah, just
Don't
distract
sleep in
yourself.
prep, so it's fine.
Yes, it's 4 in the morning, guys. I did say that I would introduce Molly to you, Sarah. You've met her at a show, but Molly's on the call and she's a
Hello.
fangirl. She's a fangirl. So I said,
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you
Have
too.
we met before?
Yeah,
yeah,
you were at the first timer show in November last year. You with Henry.
Ah, yes, I remember now. Yeah,
Yeah, when Georgia was competing in the UK Open. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it was a great day. I can't wait. I'm not competing this year. I spoke to Sarah about it already. Like it was a hard decision to when I already had it in my head that I was going to. think it's one of the most difficult decisions because, as you were saying before, nobody gives a shit at the end of the day. But I got it into my head that everybody gave a shit if I didn't compete. But actually, why do I care?
It's when you say it, like when people say it, it's really it sounds really harsh, but like I'm a pro and like, do you know what I mean? Like, does anyone really care? I don't really care if they care. I'm just gonna get on stage when I want to get on stage. Like, and again, like comes back round to just doing it for yourself. If you feel like, okay, so maybe I need another year to, to put more tissue on or whatever, then take that year. Like, and when I pulled prep, I had this fucking mad epiphany. I sat down one evening and was like, holy fucking shit, my dad is almost 70, and unfortunately, my dad's got like this lifelong cancer, so it's inevitable that he will pass away very soon. And I don't have a mum, and my sister's working all the time. I think, fucking hell, like, why am I sitting here being sad in a prep when I could go and just see my dad? Because I don't know whether he's going to be here tomorrow. And I think it's so important to, we love bodybuilding, but fucking life is, and it's, it's a really weird thing to think, but like, life is, and I'm only 28 and I am sat here being really sad about what I'm doing when I should be loving what I'm doing. So take that year and
Mm.
make memories and grow and learn the process and enjoy it. And then when you get back on stage, you can be like, I had the fucking best year of my life. I made memories. I put tissue on. I'm going to hit that stage so much better now. I'm in a better frame of mind than what I was sat there sad and not going into prep, but going into prep because I felt like I had to. Like
Mm.
that's yeah, so important. It's just fucking sitting back and being like, holy fucking shit. Like I have a family and I'm sat here being sad. And, I think it's just understanding we love bodybuilding, bodybuilding is our life, but also understanding when our time is our time and getting back on stage, being like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking smash this because I've had a really great year. I've developed mentally, I've developed physically, and I'm gonna prove everyone wrong, and I'm gonna show everyone that actually I'm here to win. I'm not here to fucking pussyfoot around. I'm here to win and here to display a physique that I'm really fucking happy with. So yeah, like have that year out. And obviously, Sarah, do you coach Molly?
No, Henry coached there.
Okay. So, like, even with Henry, like, he is honestly, I think the world of Henry. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And, understanding that he would have gone through that conversation with you. And Henry
Mm.
has a beautiful way with words because it's Henry, but he's a very, very good coach, a very understanding coach. So, like, I'm no doubt in my mind that he would have had that conversation. You would have had that conversation and he would have been very understanding.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely. Well, timing is everything, as you were saying, and like because prep literally takes like half a year sometimes, is what's the point in, dragging your feet for half a year when you can smash it when you're absolutely ready to. You don't want it to be a chore, and it's like I've finally come to terms with I'm not competing now, and I feel really good about it. So I spoke to Sarah about as well. It's yeah, because when bodybuilding it is your life, you think competing is as well, and it's just not, doesn't need to be like that. So that's what Sarah really taught me as well, that it's all about timing and everything like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and sometimes, there'd be people here and listening when this releases a podcast and what I've spoken about, healing, healing takes
Yeah.
time, guys, life, life throws some fucking shit at you.
Mm.
Sometimes we don't get time to deal with those things. This could be right back at childhood, right? There's certain things that drive us to be bodybuilders often. We find that purpose, we find that drive, we find who we are. But could we be more? Could we be a better
Mm.
bodybuilder? Could we execute with more purpose? Could we enjoy the prep, right? Oh my God, imagine it, enjoying a prep. Trust me, it can happen. But sometimes we have to facilitate some time to step back to heal, whether that's food relationship, whether that's past trauma, whether that's actual relationship. I mean, the list goes on. Could actually be health conditions, right? Being a bodybuilder or generally speaking. So sometimes just being, and I coined the phrase addicted to healing. So, ooh, what's this little demon here? I'm gonna fucking have you, and you can start to heal your mind. And trust me, as I've spoken about on the pod recently, when you go into a diet and you go, right, my physique is responding. This is fucking brilliant. And this comes as well. So there's so many different. I could talk for hours about that, and so could Sarah. There's so many different ways to look at this, but essentially rerouting back to knowing what your why is. So that question, if someone says to you, why are you a bodybuilder? You want to be chewing their ear off for 2 hours. No, I'm joking. knowing that you can reroute, and if people are telling you should prep and it's not the right decision, fuck them. And of course, thank you, Sarah, for your time. As I said on my story the other day, the girls pour a lot into the podcast, their time, their energy, and they care a lot about it, the community that's forming. We are looking at the next seminar. We have a potential location and venue. I won't go into it yet until it's confirmed, but we've absolutely got that on the cards. Obviously, we've got the group photo shoot. Some of you are joining that as well with One Media. And there's lots of
When is that, Sarah? Because we were, I mean, I with 2 dates, weren't we?
Yeah, so it's going to be the start of June, and then we've obviously got that other date where we might do something else with the four of us, depending on if Mana is free. Obviously, getting the four of us in one place. Oh, you lucky people. I'm joking, I'm joking. But I mean that, Sarah, it's all of you girls pour a lot into the pod as well. And you guys, thank you for turning up on a
Yeah.
bank holiday and allowing us to be part of your journeys. It does mean a lot, and that's part of our purpose, isn't it, Sarah?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like I think since obviously meeting you, Sarah, like I think again, I'm someone who's addicted to having a purpose because if I don't have a purpose, I go a little bit loopy and then I fall off the face of the earth. So like having something that I can involve already bodybuilding, which I love and adore, but also being able to give out experiences that I've had and, even speaking about steroids and stuff that a lot of people don't speak about is opening actually up the pathways of bodybuilding that people don't talk about and being open about things and creating a community where someone can ask, hey, Sarah, like, this coach is giving me this. What do you think? And actually being like, yeah, that's a good idea. Or holy fucking shit, don't do that. Like giving girls and ladies and men or whatever a community where we can just sit down and have chats like this and be open and be comfortable about what we're discussing. And everyone has everyone has something to give back. Like, experiences with coaches or, struggles they've had in the past. Like, we're all here to help each other because in the past, when we've all been, when I was younger and getting into bodybuilding, we didn't have this community. Like, I was just given this or there are forums that were very contradicting or whatever it may be, but nowadays there are people like Sarah that are changing the game and giving people something to come to and talk about struggles or whatever because we all have them. It's just being us be put in a position where we can talk about them in a safe environment because we don't have a lot of safe environments sometimes in this industry because there's so many contradicting things and there's so many toxic traits from people and you think actually okay, so one person's saying this, but what about this person? And that person looks great, but are they assisted or unassisted? Like, so having a community where we can both be honest and everyone can be honest and upfront and being able to talk about things and feel safe about talking about things is really important. So, no, thank you for giving us that space, Sarah. That's really important.
Don't, I'll get emotional. I'm dieting. I'm going to be emotional. No, it is, as I said at the start of the podcast, yeah, just means a lot because it's what I wanted, and I will not get emotional. Thank you, because it wouldn't be possible without all of you. And I was just this little girl from Bognor Regis who needed some muscle mass and had a little dream. But of course, if you've got a dream, it can become reality. If you've got a strong wife, you've got purpose, if you've got the right people around you, and you make it happen, and it starts with that self-belief. But what a way to end it. I didn't expect that, Sarah. You my G. But guys, thank you. I'm sure Sarah won't mind coming back on for another webinar because that was fucking sick. I'm just gonna say it out.
That's cool. That's what I'm here for.
24 hours, a 24-hour, a 24-hour chatathon.
That would be sick.
I love it. I love
And you
it.
could probably change the world in that time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
yeah, definitely.
We were talking about a load of fucking weird shit. Well, guys, of course, enjoy if you're off work or whatever tomorrow. Online coaches, probably not because every day is an online coaching day. But I'm aware it's a bank holiday, which I didn't realise until today. So enjoy it if you're off or whatever you're doing. And of course, we'll be in your ears tomorrow because it's Monday at 6 a.m. We love you guys.
Love you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.